This is Gateway City Sports.
It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down, Michael for three. Yeah! Yes! She is gone!
I can't believe what I just saw.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! You believe in miracles? Yes!
You may fire when ready.
What?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to this week's show. Such a relaxing time with no video, no streaming, no disappointment. Speaking of disappointment, we do not have one of our own here tonight. That would be my co-host from the very beginning, Pete Geddes. He's out on assignment tonight, and so we're just waiting for him to get back with us next week. But in the meantime, Elliott is with me, my good friend. We've been doing this for a little over 3 years, Elliott, and I think we still got you under contract, I think, to the end of the year. So it's going to get heated. There'll be some negotiation. There'll be some other things happening to maybe keep you on board or just to dump you. You might be just a salary dump by the end of the year, I think.
Yeah, as the occasional guest host permanently. I'll do what I can to move this along since we don't have Pete here. So
I know, isn't it such a disappointment? Joining us tonight, it's going to be a very, very great. It's going to be a great show. At some point in time, at Holy Elle will be joining us to talk a little about some fun. And joining us right now is a good friend of the show, Mr. Dan Buffa. Speaking of salary dump, Dan, how have you been?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. I just got out of a movie and I got a beer in my hand, so I'm ready to talk. Had a little bit of an issue. The cell phone just wouldn't connect to the Zoom, so I busted out the laptop.
Oh,
Sometimes you have to go to the bullpen in the first inning. Sometimes, something the Cardinals are going to know a lot about here in the next month.
Yeah, they do.
When you give up 11 runs in the first inning, sometimes that happens.
Jesus Christ. I mean.
Yeah, that's not really how they drew it up in the pregame. All right, guys, come in together. Don't give up 11 runs.
We're going to make a statement. We're going to make a statement right now, goddammit. That was, and Dan, if you've ever heard us, you've heard me rant about this before, plenty on Twitter. I live in this geographical oddity in Charlotte, North Carolina, where somehow we're still in Cincinnati's market. Okay? It's only a cool 7-hour drive away, and the Reds' local games here are blacked out. I'm, of course, an MLB.TV subscriber since I'm out of the St. Louis market. I usually don't have a problem until they face the Reds. The only problem I have with the Reds is it was a 4-game series over a weekend when my entire family was gone. I was here by myself. All I wanted to do was watch a couple games. But I tell you what, if I was going to get blacked out during any series, this last Red series was the one to get blacked out on. I didn't miss a damn thing.
That was the blackout, man. It really came on by surprise. I mean, the way they're so injured and they're not playing well, they can't get their pitching and their hitting right. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the series or even split, especially because the Reds they can hit. I mean, it's just if their pitching can just harness a team, they can be dangerous. They just can't do that. But to get swept by them, that was, especially in that fourth game, as painful as that was, to actually try to come back and then falter when you don't have an answer off the bench, which is one of the many problems. They just don't have that. Here, we have a guy on the bench who can get a hit. I mean, we have a good, we feel good about him getting a hit. Now with Carpenter playing a little more, who's the guy behind him on the bench?
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to become a little bit more of a
Little
capable
bit,
bench back. I know
slowly.
it's little tiny, it's baby steps, it's little bites, but he's looked a little bit better in the few opportunities he's had. And I think all of us going into the year, yes, I think it's universal. This extension he signed, all of us wish we could pull the Loki shit and go back and just create an alternate timeline where that extension never happened, right? But at least I think.
Can you imagine, Ron? Can you imagine if Mo
man.
just pops up in the next MCU movie? Hey guys, I did all this. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, no, I'd see what was it, the Time Police or whatever, just show up at Busch Stadium, take Mo back and reset him, and that extension was meant to happen. That we can't undo that.
The time variance.
Time variance. I know. I finally watched the first episode of Loki tonight. I had been putting it off because I don't know, some of these things just don't excite me enough. But I forced myself to watch. It wasn't bad. It's weird, but it wasn't bad. We'll get into that stuff later on. But Dan, while we have you on here, I think that probably one of the worst case scenarios has happened, right? As far as the Cardinals and their pitching staff goes. We already knew going into this year we were going to be down Dakota Hudson. We were already down one of our 5 labeled starters, right? I don't think anybody saw this many injuries happening and hitting them all at the same time like this. This is it's a serious problem. And the problem, what makes it worse is there is no instant fix. It's at that time of the year where a lot of teams just aren't ready to pull off those deals yet, or they're harder, or you end up overpaying. Not to say you won't overpay at the deadline, but you're going to pay a little bit more right now, I think, because you're going to get more time with the other player.
Yeah, I mean, really, because everything just kind of cascaded. I mean, they were doing so well when May kind of got started, and they were putting together a winning streak, but it still felt like they had like 6 Band-Aids over the wound. And then all of a sudden a couple more big injuries, and everything's just kind of spiraling. And the crazy part is they're still, 2 games above 500, as bad as they look. But, I mean, it's everything that could go wrong went wrong. All the things that he didn't address in the offseason, outside of that one guy named Nolan, Arenado. But the rotation had leaks. Miles Michaelis came back, made a start, exited for possibly 2 more months. Flaherty goes down, and everything just kind of catapults. And right when you think maybe Carlos Martinez can, pull off a good month of pitching to get them to the next guy, he's not having a good run of it. But thank gosh for a guy named Adam Wainwright, who just knows how to stop the bleeding, even as he almost turns 40 years old.
Yeah, that was. I tell you what, I think most of us knew that they really did need to sign him even before this wave of injuries took over. I think universally, I think Cardinals fans, not just from hey, look, we want the guy around one more year because we love him. We actually, the business side of us, the baseball side of us, kind of need him. And thank God that he's back, because, man, they're hurting already. I can't imagine how it would be if literally you got John Gant, who wasn't even in the plan really to be a starter. I guess you got to say he's been one of the more reliable guys, but who knows how long that's going to sustain.
Yeah, I mean, John Gant, he just likes to make it look really hard. So if he was like a hero in a movie, he would just damage half a city in saving the day. So, he takes so long to throw a pitch.
That's right.
And then he puts guys on base, he walks, but he doesn't seem to give up a lot of damage until that last start, where everybody is like, look, you're not going to slink away without any damage this time. So the rotation outside of Wainwright, who really just gets out there and pitches, it's almost going to be – it feels like you're wishing. You're hoping for somebody just to give 6 solid innings, not 5, but 6, because the bullpen is genuinely going to be fried by the time that the middle of July comes around.
Yeah, and that's the thing that worries me a lot too. I mean, even if you and there's no way an arm like Alex Reyes is in no way, shape, or stretched out at this point to plug him back into the rotation. He's a I'm not saying a short-term guy, but you've got him for an inning or 2 tops right now. You can't plug him into the starting rotation, and then you take him out of the bullpen, you're even worse off there. So the pitching, this pitching reminds me a lot, Dan, of the late '90s when the Cardinals had a decent offense, but that offense just couldn't keep up because the pitching always seemed to get them behind early on. I don't know if you remember those teams in 1980, 98, 99. It wasn't until 2000 when they recovered. So. I just don't. Go ahead.
With a lot of with a lot of your guys' injuries that you've got going on right now, isn't there some guys down in the farm system that you could possibly bring up to maybe see if you can catch a spark with one of these younger guys? Because I mean, we all know that the bench depth is pretty depleted right now, and what you have isn't probably you're not comfortable with. So is there an opportunity with some of these prospects to bring up and maybe shine a little bit?
We'll give that to you, Dan.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, he's already talked about Liberatore, and Thompson's not having a good season. They thought about maybe putting Zach Thompson up here to see what would happen if he just if you threw him into the Lions' den. But I don't see you're going to see those two guys, and your depth down there. Outfield wise, Austin Dean is even hurt. So even your backup, Bader's down. Austin Dean's hurt. A lot of their taxi cab squad is depleted. I mean, this team, it's not like they have the starters hurt. They have the backups to the backups hurt. I mean, they're looking for any kind of depth. I mean, there's a reason that we're all hanging on an emoji by Shelby Miller on Twitter going, is he going to make a start? Because you got to picture it. He just got released by the Cubs, and now he's going to go possibly join his old team to face his other old team. So
yeah,
even that might make the Wrigley series, which I have no idea what's going to happen because they played well last night, but you never know. The Cubs were at the top of a very ugly division, and Wrigley Field is it's a scary place to play, guys.
Well, they are at the top of this ugly division. And
they're just hanging there, though. They're hanging there. It's like there seems to be a game or two.
Half game.
I'm showing right now. At least the standings are tied.
Did Milwaukee win tonight?
They must have won.
Brewers, man.
Yeah, so they've
been playing good.
The Brewers are the team that I'm worried about long term because I just think that they have the right balance. If they can ever just get like the Cardinals and like pretty much every team. Put it together for a long stretch of time, they could distance themselves.
Yeah.
But the Cubs and the Cardinals and the Brewers, they take turns being good at something. They either hit.
Well, the Brewers have been healthy now. Like they have been healthy the last couple of weeks. They got Yelich back, but they also have that 1-2 combination of pitcher, like those dominant pitchers. They have 1A and 1B with who is it? Woodruff and.
Just blanking on their
the other guy is I'm blanking on his name, but they have been at the top of the NL in a lot of these pitching categories.
And that's got legs.
Yeah. And I know the Cardinals have been struggling lately. The Cubs have been on this West Coast road trip that has the month of June is kind of going to be their story of what happens in this season. And to come out of that 7-game stretch by winning 3, going 3-4, I feel pretty good about that, especially with the injuries that the Cubs have too. We're not as bad as the Cardinals right now, but there's been some guys that have stepped up. So
it seems like to me the Cardinals just have to tread water. Because you're right, the Brewers are healthy. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and really out of all the division. The Cubs, they have a good run differential, but they seem to be letting that back door open to that number 1 spot in the division. The Cardinals, I think they can, when they get healthy, and I think late August is going to be that, unless they get somebody really big at the deadline. August is where we're going to see a lot of people coming back, or let's just say the injured maybe getting back into rhythm. But they have to stay in this until then, and that's going to involve more than 1 or 2 moves. I think you're going to see a flurry of moves. Even if smaller and minor ones.
Yeah, I would agree, Dan. I mean, you have to think that maybe more than ever, Mo in the front office are just looking at the waiver wire, unsigned free agents that were never picked up. I mean, they're gonna have to try everything. The thing that people can't forget is that there is a 40-man roster to deal with. They can't just go out and grab anybody and put them on the major league roster. Now they have a lot of openings right now because guys have been put on the IL, so I don't know how many spots they have open right now, but it's not like unlimited. They can't just go out and grab anybody. But look, Where's our Jeff Weaver for this year? That's what we need. We need a Jeff Weaver from 2006,
or even like a Larry, even like a poor man's Larry Walker, just to come out in the outfield, or even in the field anywhere and just stabilize. The lineup needs, they get Tyler O'Neill, who's hitting everything right now, but they can't get Paul Goldschmidt really, really going. And Tommy Edman, you can't say too many bad things about him, but his OPS is about to slip under 700 if he has another bad day. So he's chilling out at the plate, and he's a table setter. So with the Cardinals, one thing seems to work, and then two other things just kind of go out. The power goes out in the rooms.
Yeah, agree. And really, to your point, and I feel the same way, by the way. I'm not in panic mode yet, and I don't think they should, unless there's an opportunity out there that's going to work for them. I don't see them doing anything big at this point. Perhaps not even at the deadline until they get a better read on when some of these guys might be returning. But if they can stay in the hunt, the offense is to do that. And to do that, the offense is going to have to pick it up and be a little more consistent. The offense needs to step it up, and a couple moves need to be made just to give them some kind of depth and give them some breathing room. Because right now, I think I would think that from a pitching staff perspective, it just seems smothering. It feels smothering right now.
It does, and again, when Ellie, you mentioned of answers, and somebody's going to have to step up. And when you're getting some good shortstop play from Edmundo Sosa with Paul DeJong out, which was supposed to be maybe a problem when he went out, and Arenado seems to be steady. I know he was kind of a cold streak there for a little bit. He turned it on. But if Goldschmidt, I keep thinking he's the equalizer to the lineup, because you have Arenado steady, O'Neill's clobber and everything. Sosa's, he's creating some excitement. Maybe if Goldschmidt can just get into that June, July hot streak that he gets in throughout his whole career, he can turn the whole lineup on. But, this lineup was supposed to fire on those two guys, and then maybe the other guys would support. But Goldschmidt having this really slow takeoff, even, his stats aren't terrible, but for him, they just, the team needs him to take off big time.
Can you imagine Tyler O'Neill hitting right now with those other guys, even playing on par with?
Filthy.
And then having
Murder's Row.
Right.
Murder's Row.
And then what would happen to Carlson, if Goldschmidt was hitting right now? Imagine what he would be seeing right now. So I think a couple things can happen, and we'll see. This is not a throwaway year by any means. I've already seen Cardinals social media. Should we buy or sell? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you didn't just trade for Nolan.
They're already there.
Yeah, you know how it is, Elliott. It's every fan base has a group of them. They're ready to jump off the cliff right now. But yes, you go out and trade for Nolan Arenado only to sell in the same year. Get the hell out of here.
I almost want to just like wipe a memory of one of them going, the team is 10-50. That's how bad it is. And then 5-10 minutes later say, no, we're kidding. They're 2 games over 500. Back away from the ledge. There's a lot of baseball left. I mean, we're not even in mid-June. And, you get into the September, the dog days of summer, where you're just like, stop with the humidity. And please, Cardinals, make all this baseball watching worth it. I mean, there's a lot of time left. That just no team anticipates losing, the ace of their rotation. And also, you're already missing another part of your rotation.
Yeah, missing 60% of it as they walked into the year, right? You've got Gant
and Jordan Hicks. You got to think the two biggest losses for this team maybe fall on the pitching side. Jordan Hicks and Jack Flaherty. I mean, you just basically pulled the knife out of your bullpen and your rotation.
Yep. Yeah, and then Miles Michaelis was always kind of a flip of the coin. What version are we going to get this year? Because he had missed all of last year. So speaking of having tough times with teams that you root for in baseball, I want to ask somebody else here because I saw a picture of her in an Orioles jersey. Oh, there it is. She's got an Orioles shirt on. Elle is back on the show joining us. We're about halfway through. We were talking a little bit of baseball, Elle, and we're all I think Dan's got a pretty level-headed take on this. I think I'm really close to where he's at. Of course, he's got some maker's mark. That's probably helping him deal with the Cardinals' performance lately. Not yet.
I just watched a movie that probably makes me want to drink a little bit, and I'm halfway through another bad movie, but not drinking yet.
Elle.
You're on mute.
You're on mute. There
Sorry,
we go.
Which one?
Speak.
It's great it's great to have both you guys on and to see both your faces at the same time. Usually I've got one of you on the phone, but it's great to have you both there.
Now we're all on camera. You can't hide until you hit stop video, but don't do that. I watched The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. I wasn't a fan of the first one, and this one's just the same thing.
Yeah,
and you get
Tuesday.
What's up? Did you see it?
Tuesday.
Oh yeah, what'd you think?
It was like the first one on crack.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Steroids and more sugar. It's basically like they let the screenwriters go to the candy store, and they should have never let them go to the candy store because they don't know what they're doing.
Everything. It was like everything you could possibly think to put into a movie, they tried to cram in. Like
so it's like a Fast and Furious movie.
Well, see, Fast and Furious.
Seen any of those.
I see. I'm kind of an apologist, even though this new one looks terrible, because John Cena and Vin Diesel are literally melting their makeup off their face when they stare at each other in that trailer. but in this one, you got Salma Hayek, Samuel L. Jackson, Ryan Reynolds, not Frank Grillo. He sucks. You get all these good actors, and they're just everything is borrowed from other movies. The jokes are kind of stale. And Ryan Reynolds, he looks lost half the time. I mean, I think he needed a guide back to the screenplay. Not as troublesome as this Cardinals team, but Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Wait till DVD.
I think
late night on Redbox and a frozen pizza.
Yeah, it was a lot. There were jokes, and there were
There was. I laughed.
It was literally like, let's see how many times we can say the word.
Yep. I know what you're saying. MF. Just say MF.
You can say that on here.
Well, it's got Samuel Jackson in there.
Yeah,
come
but
he is the motherfucker.
True. I mean, he's known for that word, but it was almost like they had a running bet to see how many times they could get the word put into that movie, and just like, let's just be the most foul, crude. Like everything was just
frat boy humor.
Well, it was just like, it was like a poor man's Deadpool movie.
Oh no!
It's making you pull and mush around your face talking about it. We need to cut it out. This movie is so damn.
All right, let's put a period. Let's put a period on the baseball talk at this point, because there's one more thing I just wanted to touch on, Elliott, and I know we've brought it up here a few times, and that's, look, the Cubs, while they're sharing first place right now with the Brewers, they still have a directional strategic decision they're going to have to make within the next month, right? This was supposed to be it, right, Dan? Yeah. This was supposed to be a tear-down year for the Cubs.
Supposed to be a down year, and they're in first place.
I know. So they've got the decision to make, Elliott. If you feel any different than you did last week, because I think just as you're in first, like, do you hold on for one more ride, or do you do what you had set out to do in the offseason by letting Kyle Schwarber walk, trading away Yu Darvish, and then turning right around and signing Jock Peterson, basically just signing Kyle Schwarber back again. How do you feel this week? What are they going to do, man? Are they going to go through with this plan or not? Or are they going to go, nope, we're going to reach back and grab one more piece of magic back from 2016 and make another run at it?
I really think they're going to stick to the plan, if I had to say something. I mean, the way the division's like teeter-tottering towards three different teams, I think that the hired the manager, they didn't re-sign those guys. They're probably going to let Chris Bryant or Anthony Rizzo is going to go. I mean, I think it's going to be Chris Bryant. I think they're going to slowly keep going down that road. But if they finish in first place, the GM's not going to go, oh. But as far as making big moves, I just don't see it. I don't see them changing course.
I know you're a Cardinals fan, but do you remember when the White Sox were in first place, and they were up by like 3 games, and then they traded away. They did a breakdown because they were supposed to do it at the beginning of the year, and then they never did. They still talk about that season, the white flag trades. And you got to imagine that Jed Hoyer is going to Tom Ricketts and being like, Do you want to be remembered because they still talk about it to this day when the White Sox waved the white flag when they were in first place and traded all those pieces away for nothing, and it didn't help the team at all? If you do this, you will always be remembered, not for the World Series, but waving that white flag while you were in first place.
Yeah, because the problem with winning a World Series is you want to win more. So you win one, and now you're just going to close up shop. So then the next conversation they have is, so you want me to call the Washington Nationals? Do you want to get Scherzer? What if they just went crazy? I just can't see it, but you never know. It's the Cubs.
No, I mean, honestly, just think of where the Cubs would be right now if they kept Yu Darvish, had all these other pieces, and this bullpen that has been freaking lights out. Imagine where they would be. They would probably be about 4 or 5 games up right now.
Yeah, they'd have more stability because, I mean, they'd have more than the Cardinals have in their rotation right
because
now.
Because they don't have a number one. They don't.
And the Cardinals are hedging every bet on Wainwright just being unreal. But what if he drops out and if something happens, then you're down to, Johan Oviedo, Dan Ponce de Leon every few days.
Right.
So the Cubs and the Cardinals are they're limping into this series, which makes it could be the most interesting Wrigley series of the year.
And to kind of answer your question, Ron, I think the decision has already been made that the Cubs will be buyers in July, and they will not. And it throws everything out the window that we said in the beginning of the season, Pete and I. They will. Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javier Baez will be on this team post trade deadline.
I'm recording this shit, right? And when they're traded away, I'm going to play it. Okay. Well, I hope they stick with the plan. This is being recorded, Elliott. You know this, right?
If they are still in first place July 1, they will still be on this team August 1st.
I hope that all of that's not true.
I want as much drama as you could possibly get between the Cardinals and the Cubs. If it's going to be an ugly division year, I want brawls. I want staring contests. You like the baseball brawls where a couple of shoves, maybe a glove gets thrown.
I want it to be like Cardinals Reds.
I want it to be brutal. Who's going to be, the Nicholas Castellanos on the Cubs this weekend? Who's going to be? Is it going to be Baez? Is he going to be the villain?
It'll be Contreras.
We all understand that in that whole thing, Yadier Molina is technically the villain. He's the one that should have been suspended games.
He's the godfather.
He is. You can't say that. You have a catcher who's pissed off at the sun for coming up every morning, and that's Wilson Contreras. He's angry. He wants to fight everything.
Everybody else's fault, and they get a compensatory pick for it.
Yeah, I mean, if he wakes up and he can't choose that right Instagram filter, Yachty is already mad before he eats his eggs.
Damn right, I'm shedding a tear for that.
I can't scramble these eggs. I watched Gordon Ramsay's video. That's over. But good, we want that because the team is they're injured, they're not playing well, so you need some adventure on the field until the Cardinals can
I want to step on the neck this weekend.
Well, speaking of player saltiness, Joey Votto had something to say about the Cardinals or the Red sweep of the Cubs.
As always, it's always a team effort. So it was a great team series. It's hard to win 4 games in a row. It's especially hard to win 4 games in a row on the road. And I don't know. I think I read the last time we did that was in 1990, and we had some talking motherfuckers in St. Louis after the first series sweep, and it's kind of nice to go on their road, at their road ballpark and let them have it. We had some people sweeping brooms and like that while we were leaving. So, how'd you like that?
It would mean more. You know what this was, Dan? This reminds me of. This reminds me of an NFL receiver catching a first down pass and not realizing his team's down by 28 points and doing that little celebration. I just made a first down. Joey, your team's been shit. They tried to stack it up last year, still didn't finish at the top of the division. In fact, finished in the bottom half. You haven't won shit since 2010. I don't think you've won a playoff game since, 1990 when Jose Rijo was the World Series MVP. So, Joey, you can say whatever you want. I'm not salty about it, but it just makes me laugh. It's a cartoon. It's a cartoon. He's another angry guy. We have the angriest players in the National League Central, so it must be regional.
We do. There's people just hate the Cardinals. I mean, it's like we have a target on the back of the jersey every time they take the field. And really, it has to do, I think, with the Brandon Phillips thing. I think that really kicked everything off. It threw all that charcoal and they made the fire get this big, and it hasn't gone down in 12 years. So, Joey Votto, I wish I would have gotten this guy on an Uber, because occasionally he's mean to Uber drivers. But I just think yeah, I mean, he's just a really, he's one of those guys that, he's had a great career, but he whines a lot. And he when he whines, he sounds nervous when he in that press conference. He's like, yeah, we swept you. Am I supposed to be saying this? Is this a script? No. He's not even convincing when he's doing that.
Yeah.
He'll stare through a camera and just go, I destroyed your camera. It's over.
Yeah,
That's what he does, man.
Yeah, his stare will make your soul just detach briefly from your body. My boss has that effect on me. I miss those days of Tony La Russa and Dusty Baker being in opposite dugouts, because instead of throwing like water on the fire, they're like, no, let me put it out with this, and they're holding a can of lighter fluid. All right, so
yeah, and then Dusty Baker's holding a bottle of wine. You don't want to drink this, Tony, do you? No, you don't.
Nope, not in Florida, not in Arizona, nowhere.
Not in Chicago.
Not in Chicago either. They're pretty bad there. All right, I think that does it for the baseball talk tonight. So we'll shift gears here to something a little more pleasant. There you go. You gotta cut that seal off there though before that'll work. I do have. I have a half bottle of Blanton's inside. I'm reluctant to touch that one.
Blanton's. That's John Wick whiskey, man. Come on.
I know.
Blanton's? Really?
Blanton's. You're not a fan?
It's so
good.
It.
Oh, you love it.
I wish I had some.
It's hard to find.
You want to trade? This can be really good after 10 p.m.
I know.
The richness goes up at 10. Blanton's sucks after 10 p.m.
Does
this is really good.
I make sure I don't. I make sure if I'm already tuned up, I never touch that stuff. You've got to that's got to be the first thing.
It's got to be the first thing.
It's got to be the first thing. Guys, I got to ask both of you. I don't know if you've seen this movie. I think Dan. I think maybe you said you did. I had a bachelor weekend. My wife literally left with all the kids. First time I've been alone for a weekend in probably over a decade. I didn't quite know what to do with myself. I didn't really do anything productive around the house, but
of course not.
On Friday, I did watch The Conjuring 3 on HBO Max. I'm a subscriber, so I got that one. My wife doesn't watch those things with me. She hates those types of movies. But I watched it, and Saturday night, I've got to tell you guys, I have not found myself smiling watching a movie as much as I was smiling watching Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage.
Yes!
It was just
such a good movie.
It was just so much fun to watch him beat the shit out of possessed robot characters.
Right?
It was.
It was Nick Cage hopped up on some energy drink, punching animatronic, figures inside of a Chuck E. Cheese like place. That's 85 minutes of like heroin and Red Bull.
Yeah.
I mean, and I haven't watched The Conjuring yet though, but I know Patrick Wilson. I can't stare into his eyes for too long. So I got to work my way up to that. Vera Farmiga, Patrick Wilson, for some reason, just disables me.
Yeah, you know what? The thing I love about it, I love the
Don't shake your head, Al.
The line I love on the movie is he's not trapped in there with them; they're trapped in there with him. And
exactly.
So
isn't it supposed to be like the Freddy's?
Yeah.
Based off of that game. That like scares the shit out of kids.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
There you go. I knew it was Freddy.
Yeah, my son was at Five Nights at Freddy. I was like, what are you doing? I mean, usually you can understand half of their games.
Yeah.
I didn't understand one thing of that. It was like if Freddy Krueger and Chuck E. Cheese made a video game together. I didn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't ask.
It's pretty much it's a scare game. It's just supposed to kind of freak you out at times where they come out of nowhere, where you're facing one way, you turn around, you turn back around, and they're right there. So
yeah, because they can't turn their neck.
Right.
But that's definitely, I think it feels like where the story origin, obviously, or the idea from it of it came from. But it was it's been a very long time since I've watched a movie and just caught my face hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the director, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to make a fun movie that his teenage boys who are movie fans like him could watch. And he said, I mean, he's one of the few directors I got a chance to interview. Somebody said, "You want to interview the director of a Nicolas Cage film?" I was like, "You had me in Nicolas Cage. I'll interview anything." But he said he was the first to sign on. He's a cool dude. They filmed that thing in about a month. And he made it because he wanted to make an old school B movie that I think people could just enjoy and not get scared by, like The Conjuring, which I haven't watched yet.
Yeah, I've talked to a few people that I told them I watched that movie.
You watched it, Elle?
I don't like voluntarily watching scary movies.
Yeah. Conjuring's pretty scary. I've heard this one's pretty scary. And what I want to know is, this is my problem. I haven't watched the first two. For some reason, don't ask me why. I'm not a huge horror fan, and it's the fact that I've seen everything. I've seen every trick they have up their sleeve. But now I feel like, do I have to watch the first two, or is the third one, are they kind of like episodic, or are they connected?
Isn't it a whole universe within? Like Annabelle. Annabelle is with it, and
it's a lot of the same actors, isn't it?
Yeah, Annabelle's connected, I think. But are these? Yeah, could you jump in with The Conjuring?
I think you can. Yeah, for me watching it, I had watched the first two, but I don't recall that it's an Exorcist type of movie. What I remember from the first two, I think you can watch the third one without watching the other two and still get it. I'm not sure it's the same. I didn't have a problem following it. It's not like I think I was missing a lot of context. There may have been an Easter egg or something, but.
What am I watching here?
Yeah, no.
What is it? She's mad.
Oh my God! I gotta do so much back research on this.
No, I think you can jump right in.
That's good. No, I mean, look, the first two. Look, you have James Wan directing the first two. So the only scare I really had was that you changed directors, but the third one supposedly is pretty good. I could just watch all three one night, all three, hide in the closet and sleep until the morning comes up.
A couple people that I work with come from Catholic backgrounds, and they have freaked out the most out of anybody I've talked to. They won't watch it because they don't want to invite that shit into their life. So I wasn't aware.
See it?
Yeah, I was.
The Exorcist?
I don't know if they have or not. I didn't ask that question, but
I think everybody's at least watched that movie.
You would think,
it's
right?
It's a freaky movie, man. It's still freaky. There's some movies that you can put them on, and it doesn't matter what kind of mood you're in. If the room's light or dark, they're just gonna freak you out. I mean, it's
right across the street from my work, The Real House.
Oh, that's lovely. That's like the plot of another Netflix movie coming 2 years.
Yeah. The house is the Exorcist house. I'm not going to say where I work, but it is about a block away from my work. The real Exorcist house.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Next time it rains and it's a little windy at night, we're going down there at night.
And there's just some guy that lives there. Like he just doesn't care. I'm like, how you
I'm mowing the lawn.
Like, who just lives in the Exorcist house? That's insane.
Burn that shit down.
Mowing. Hey, look.
Family has spiders in there.
Got my battery-powered mower. Look at me.
Just pull John Goodman out
and car and we'll all go.
Exactly.
Does it still have the windows and everything, or has it been renovated enough where you wouldn't recognize it?
No, it's still like it is. It's.
I didn't realize this.
Belnor.
But speaking of iconic movie locations, the chainsaw scene in Scarface is like a CVS now down in Florida or something like that. I thought that was just one of those weird, odd facts. Like really, an iconic scene. Like you think somebody would have kept that hotel open just to rent that room out and say, "Hey, look,
it's a CVS now." A classic film. There's so many classic films that are going to be CVS's and Walgreens and Starbucks, but they will
Dunkin'
not
Donuts.
be Applebee's. Dunkin' Donuts, yeah. Burnt coffee.
Part of the hospital burned down in St. Louis from the Exorcist. Like the wing that he was in was like the Alexian Brothers Hospital. like part of that wing, like that wing burned down or something that he was in. So
this is going to be like a documentary sometime soon.
Yeah.
Well, Ron and I used to work in a haunted hospital.
We did. Yeah, so we work for, and I'll say the company name. We used to work for Electrolux. Their headquarters used to be in Bloomington, Illinois, and Elliott and I both worked there. It was the location was a Mennonite hospital previously, and the third floor was the only area of the building that was left unrenovated. And it was the spooky wing, and you went up there, and they still
psych ward.
It was a psych ward, and the company was using it for record storage, and so when you had a bad day, you just kind of go walk up through that hallway. The doors were still there, and there was writing on the wall. They let the patients and stuff write little messages on the wall, and it was I know. Elle's shaking her head.
Right,
but it was
right.
Yeah,
it was absolutely like that.
Okay, my theory is because I'm so small, like I'm already skittish like a squirrel. Like I'm always going to be like on the defense. Like I just have to live my life like that. So I'm very, like they say, everybody's like fight or flight. I'm very much fight. When I was in high school, your friends would drag you to like haunted houses. And I got kicked out of one because I punched the guy when he jumped out in front of me. And I'm like, that's it. Like, I just don't I don't. And so like when I go and see movies, there's nowhere for me to attack so it's like, I'm always like,
they have to check. They have a list for. She once punched a guy at a haunted house. Yeah, there's Elle. We got her. Yeah, get out of here.
How big am I? I am not. I am very, very small. Like that is the reason small animals are always on guard. Like that, I understand that it is survival. Like I have to be ready. So yes, no, you don't jump out at me.
It's you and Tom Cruise for height. Yeah, you're pretty short.
He's probably taller than me.
Maybe.
No, he is taller than me.
Are you kidding me?
I'm shorter than Salma Hayek. You saw in the movie.
What is Tom Cruise? What is Tom Cruise? Is he like 5'4", 5'2"? I mean, he's pretty.
5'5" on a good day. It's raining out.
5'5" in heels.
5'5" in heels.
I'm not even 5'5" in heels.
Yeah, it sounds like
my wife's 5'2", so
that's
I have no problem with short women.
That's
just whenever they punch you, you better be ready because they're right next to your abs and your.
If they just miss south a little bit, you're in trouble. My wife is also
go down. Go down. Don't worry about hitting them. Just go down and block.
I don't think about it when I start throwing hands. I just throw hands.
Jesus.
Something takes over, and I'm just.
It's over. The hair tie goes off the wrist.
I did feel bad about punching the kid because he was a kid. He was about probably the same age as me, but he jumped out in front of me, so my reaction was to punch him in the face.
So we've captured a really interesting factoid. Elle punched a kid on the show. She admitted it on the show.
That's the Twitter. That's the social media share, Ron.
That's the clickbait right there. Right.
I was a child as well. Who would ever believe it? Look at this face. Who would ever believe it?
It is surprising.
You're gonna play like a mobster's wife that takes over after he's gunned down. I can see that. You have the dark hair. Mm-hmm. You work out a lot. The henchmen are handing your weights to you. I can see it. I can write this.
I only attack when I'm scared.
There's your tagline. I only punch you, Carlos, when you hand me the 15.
He only attacks when terrified. That yes, I will.
That's the poster.
I just got a visual of a spotter grabbing the bar too soon and her just flipping the shit, just flipping out.
That's it. Okay. Yeah. Is this water from the Alpine Springs in France? No, it's not.
I don't just get angry. Like you would have to like jump out at me. That's not cool. It's not.
Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Now.
Never.
Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. We're gonna take that insecurity and we're gonna exploit it for a movie.
Somewhere that guy is on Twitter and he's like,
I remember her.
I remember her.
She beat the shit out of me. I'm not gonna tell anybody. She's only 5'2".
Well, yeah. But really, if you work in a haunted house, the boss should say you might get punched if you do your job really well.
That's true.
I can do that.
It happened.
I'll fully admit, even to this day, like somebody goes, "Hey, you want to go to the haunted house in Carowinds or something?" I'm like, I don't know. Scary movies are one thing. I'm in an environment. I got walls around me. I know the shit. Sure. I know what's going to happen. I go on a hunt. I still like. I'll go last. Let me be right in the middle of the line. This is a good spot. That's the way the first person gets the shock, and I just
Yeah. And okay, so since
anybody around me in a haunted house, like you gotta get that box at Six Flags, and there was a guy in front of me. I literally grabbed his shirt and just buried my face in it and was like, I don't know who you are, but I'll apologize once we get the fuck out of here. But I was like,
you're my hero right now.
Like after we got out, I told his girlfriend, I was like, I apologize, but I cannot. Like I can't. I just head down, just grab it, and I just get me the hell out.
So we're talking about haunted houses in June, which is great because I'm thinking about October already. But I have a haunted house story, and it doesn't look good for me, and it's one my dad loves to tell. So Silo X used to be like the place out in Fenton, right off 44. You saw the beaming lights from like 270 on 44. It was like, we are death. We will come and kill you. Not really. So I was about 8, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And I go in there and I'm just thinking, I just have to make it to the end. Dad's going to get us McDonald's right down the street. You had Wet Willie's, which is closed, and you had Silo X. It was like a plethora of entertainment. Right at the very end, we're walking out. And that's when they get you, is right when you think the shit's over with. This guy came out with a chainsaw, and he came out of my right side, and I didn't go at him. I turned into Barry Sanders and just ran out of that place. And my dad's waiting for me, and I just go right past him like Forrest Gump. I mean, I didn't even stop. Throw me the keys, Dad. I'm going to the car. I can drive all of a sudden. And another woman's coming up with her kid, and she asked my dad, is this place scary? Well, he goes, well, that was my kid that just ran out of here.
Was there a sign that said "Stop, Buffa"? Stop. Like
Stop.
get you to stop running.
He got me. I thought I made it, and that's when the guy gets killed in the movie. He's like, I made it.
Right.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I heard you say a location in Missouri, which reminded me of something I was supposed to do earlier. Elliott, we were talking about baseball. I know we're off the topic right now, but we're talking about the Cardinals getting a little bit of insurance before.
And haunted houses.
Getting insurance. If you're a kid working in a haunted house, you might want to get insurance for your face if Elle visits it. And speaking of insurance, the Weiler Group has 2 locations in Festus and Arnold to serve you. They offer home, auto, boat, motorcycle, business, life insurance, investments, and much more. They can customize an approach unique to your situation to make sure you, your family, and assets are properly protected. They offer great rates and savings. Give them a call today at 636-764-6294 to do an insurance review or just talk sports. If you don't have time to call, please feel free to email Sean at SeanWiley@allstate.com. And speaking of haunted houses, it's a stressful situation, obviously, for I think all of us on here. Elliott, of course, hasn't spoken about the topic yet. He's probably not afraid of this shit at all. He's also a state wrestling champion, which he told me 10 years after I met him. But we all know it can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Buying a car. So Fifth Street Motors, located in Pacific, Missouri, can help you find the vehicle you need no matter what brand. Fifth Street Motors believes in giving you the best price on a pre-owned vehicle that will fit your budget. Give Brandon or Dawn a call today at 573-259-1306 and tell them Gateway City Sports sent you. All right. Back on topic. Hey, Elle, I was telling Dan earlier that I finally watched the Loki episode tonight. Have all of us universally, have we caught up on this? Have we all consumed it?
I haven't started Loki. I'm waiting because I'm going to watch 1, 2. I mean, remember, I'm a movie critic first. So I always say TV shows get pushed to the back, and then I kind of get to see a little bit of the response. And I'm not a guy who hates spoilers unless it's like Mayor of Easttown spoilers, and I want to slice your throat if you tell me who did it. But I don't mind waiting and kind of maybe collecting and watching. Because then you watch 1 or 2 and you're like, I want more. So maybe I'll wait till we have 3. But it's a great idea. The one thing I cannot wait to watch is Owen Wilson. I just love that he has this integral role in a Marvel movie. Because I've been a big Owen Wilson fan. And I don't know how much press this got, but remember when he had that almost attempt where he tried to take his life? I mean, that happened, right? I didn't imagine that, right? And his brother saved him. So I mean, he's a good guy and he's a good actor. I'm glad that he's getting this role where he looks completely different than what you would expect Owen Wilson. So that's really the thing I'm excited about the most. And Tom Hiddleston's great.
Oh.
Yeah, he is, and I just wanted to. We'll try not to spoil it. We'll try not to spoil.
Haunted houses or Tom? What if Tom's in the haunted house?
Would you punch him? Elle?
Oh, I'm sorry, Elle.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'd apologize profusely, but you're gonna get punched. I don't care.
I'm sorry. Can I get you a cold pack? Oh, you're so great. I'm sorry, man. I broke.
I will nurse whatever wounds I cause. However, you don't jump out at me.
And see,
that is good to know.
Knows this. There's a list, and Tom is probably on it. Okay, he comes to the door. My list, my wife's list is Chris Evans, and that's pretty much it. Captain America shows up.
My wife's hall pass that she would request would be Bradley Cooper.
Can't blame her. Good dude.
Yeah.
Star is born.
So anyway, we'll try not to spoil too much of this for you here, Dan. But I thought, guys, I know you guys have watched it probably before I did. These Marvel spinoffs, with the exception, I think, of Falcon and Winter Soldier, they're a little odd, right? I mean, just the visuals, the setting.
At first, they are.
Yeah, exactly, right. And it took me a while to warm up to WandaVision, but I enjoyed it by the time it all wrapped up. I think Loki got into it a little bit quicker for me. I started to understand. It did, and but in the beginning, I'm like, oh, this is going to be one of those weird things where it's going to be kind of odd. You're going to see like 1950s style advertisements and things. You know, the little screen where he's in the room where he grabs a ticket and goes to the. You know, I'm like, this kind of reminds me a little bit of WandaVision. At least that part of it did. But to me, I can't wait for the second episode at this point. It was a good start.
It seems like they're kind of like what they do is, and they do this in the movies, but in a TV show, they're not just building a 2-hour movie. They're building what is this one? A 6, 8 episode, 10? Is this 8? I mean, they're building this long movie. 6. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, I love the 6 ones.
But there's going to be 2 seasons of it. They've already said they're going to do a second season of Loki.
Then they have. You got to imagine the writing room right now is already in season 2. Like they're already ahead. So we're watching like the beginning. I always like to call it a TV show. It's kind of like a little Jenga stack. So I mean, they're just starting out.
I would say I agree with you, depending on how much this one ties into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
That's coming, right? Doctor Strange. What, 2 years? I saw their big preview where they put like 9.
It's next. Yeah, it's next March. It's next spring.
Next March. Less than a year. So we get we get more Spider-Man.
Because we get Spider-Man this holiday, and then Multiverse of Madness comes out shortly after that, I believe in February, and then you'll get season 2 of Loki in March.
Unless Lucasfilm was announcing it, and then all of these would be canceled.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're going to dominate the movies. Now we're just going to layer between the movies all these TV shows. So Marvel is like never sleeping, essentially, for like, next 10 years?
Yeah. And
all my comic reading finally coming to fruition. Like all those hours I've spent reading comics,
it's paying off.
All this started with good old Stan Lee, man. Good old Stan, who is feeling, a little beaten down by the world. So what did he do? Say, let me maybe create some heroes. I mean, his world. It's like if anybody has a legacy in that world, it's Stan Lee. I mean, we're still talking about, we're still visiting all of his heroes and the origins of them. It's pretty amazing.
But I think this one could tie into, depending on who the real villain ends up being in the show.
Right.
It could tie into Doctor Strange. It could tie into Ant-Man 3, if anybody is aware of.
I can't wait.
Big baddie Ant-Man 3. Because it's
Ant-Man 2 is like catnip to me. I've watched it so many times. It's just so easy to watch. There's the Marvel like snackable movies where you can just watch them, and then there's the where I may cry a little bit, I may get mad. Endgame, Infinity War.
The best part about it is watching how they put the puzzle together, because it's not random like DC. It's not. well, we're just going to throw any kind of shit against the wall and we're going to see.
Well, it's a Hail Mary toss every time.
Yeah.
They actually build a universe and a storyline that can take 11 years to pay off. Like the last time.
You can tell that they have written the backbone of 5 years worth of movies at a time, at least. And they all kind of go together. I mean, they probably have a warehouse with the storyboards in there where, like you said, DC is trying to do these individual things. And then after they're done, figure out how to tie it into another one where Marvel has already figured that out. Like they put the tie-ins already.
Yeah,
so. I mean,
what is it? Like, you know, like the Snyderverse was huge. Everybody's like, all the fans are like, give us more. And what's the big development they're coming out with here soon? DC Super Pets.
Yeah, I mean, it just tells you that when you have a plan, and you got to think it doesn't involve no risk. I mean, the MCU kicked off on a huge risk of putting Robert Downey Jr., who had spent more time in a jail cell. And
absolutely.
And so it took some risk. And I do think they kind of, even MCU kind of pulled a little bit of a pathos and enjoyment level and a few tricks from Christopher Nolan's Batman movies. But I think DC is so hung up on trying to repeat what Nolan did instead of trying to just build their own thing. But it seems like MCU, you know, Kevin Feige, he has built this thing multifaceted, multi-layered, to where even now in Loki, we're like, oh, so this is that part of that world.
Yeah,
it's like expanding.
Right.
That's the payoff of watching something like this. I mean, Loki is an individual character. I wasn't really that interested in him for the first few movies until you got to, you know, his ultimate fate and Endgame, and then I know the actor Elle. I know, I get it.
I'm a huge Loki Marvel.
Me too. I've always loved Loki. I kind of thought that he was, before Thanos stole all the attention, he was kind of like my favorite.
I think in Ragnarok, I think his character really became like it came big before that, but I think in Ragnarok where he kind of turned heel and joined his brother and they had their moment and they banded together against Hela. It was great. And then to see the way that he ended, fans were up in arms. They're like, "There's no, he's not dead. He's not dead. He's actually Bruce Banner. You know, it's Bruce Banner is really
and he's
Loki.
really Anthony Hopkins.
Yes, right."
And it's cool. He goes, "I've been falling for 30 minutes." That was just—it's such one of the funniest lines in the MCU. He comes falling out of that tunnel.
It was his character because he is a villain, but it was always like, if you've seen the episode where they do give a scene of like where Owen Wilson's character Mobius shows him something that he's done in his past, and he's like, explain this, and he's like, it was a bet between me and Thor. I mean, that was his character in the comics. It was always him and Thor were just kind of he was a villain, but he wasn't the big baddie. It was always just more of just trying to irritate and get under Thor's skin his entire life. I mean, like, that's who his character was. And it wasn't
the god of mischief, right? I mean, that's the thing.
I mean, it wasn't like he was supposed to be an angel. I always like the way that he's just kind of been a bad guy. He's been kind of a schemer. He's been kind of a con man. And there's so many in the MCU, they keep bringing back characters like you said that we saw die. And that's one of the good things about them. They bring them back, overlapping these stories to where, okay, they're not really gone. Like, I still believe down the road that Evans is going to make a return, and maybe small, and maybe in like a Winter Soldier and a Falcon series episode. But, they can just keep bringing them back because of this big universe they spent, 13 years building. So, I mean, they got a lot of swing left in their hammer, as Thor would say.
What's great about them, though, is that you've got, like, through the MCU, you've got different genres of movies within the MCU. You've got political thrillers. You've got Guardians of the Galaxy that is just completely weird. You know,
wild and wacky and zany.
You had, what was it, like Henry V or like Hamlet were, you know, kind of shown through the first Thor movie. You had, it was, you know, like everything has been, you had just regular action movies. But I mean, like it's always been everybody has a certain type. So like Shang-Chi coming out in September, it's gonna be a great departure from everything else they've done.
Yeah.
Eternals coming out, that's gonna be insane because, you know, I don't know how they're going to play that off, you know? And so,
I don't know. Okay, guys, so I got to tell you, I'm completely ignorant on this Eternals thing. I saw the trailer just like a week ago. I haven't been paying attention. This thing just showed up on the Apple trailers, which I kind of go through every once in a while. I saw this. I don't know if this actually ties into the MCU we're talking about or not. Does it? I have no idea.
Oh, yeah. That's like really, that's as Marvel's eyes, that's their next Avengers right there. So they're hoping.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
that's the big team up.
Well, I'm a big fan of Kamal Nanjiani, who got huge in that. Like I have been watching him for quite a long time in his roles and the way that. Ooh, yeah.
3 of you.
Well, actually, the first time that I listened to him was actually in a podcast because he had a podcast about video games, and that was my first exposure to him with Nerdist.
Yeah, I mean he's a really funny guy. So you know they're going to retain the humor by bringing him in, and you get Richard Madden, and you get Salma Hayek, and you get good old Angelina Jolie with that great pose in the trailer. But I think there's a lot more in that movie that, I mean, you know, Chloe Zhao wouldn't have taken that movie if she wasn't going to make a spectacle. I mean, this woman just won a very, you know, a good category full, good Best Picture nominee. She took that Oscar, and this was that big baby that she was making while she was making The Small Nomadland. So her name being on it more than anybody in that cast is what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to do with Kit Harington and making him into Black Knight and seeing how that character
See, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I want to hear more.
That's good though. That means you get to go on and go, who are these guys?
Well, I tell you what, guys.
Cool. This guy can do this.
Since you guys are you're big time movie folks, I got to tell you, like, there's only been a couple of things I've watched that I knew nothing of. I had Clueless, went into it completely blind. I was aware of the story of The Hobbit. I've heard the name J.R.R. Tolkien. Had no idea Lord of the Rings. No clue. I think I was dating somebody at the time who wanted to go watch it. I'm like rolling my eyes. I'm like, oh, I saw people with elf ears. Jesus Christ. Okay. This is a fantasy movie, whatever. I'll go watch it. But I tell you, I mean, even something like that, walking in completely blind, I was completely blown away when I saw that movie I mean,
that's Viggo Mortensen becoming like the leading man, like in front of the whole world. I mean, and really, he had been working for so long before that. You know, it's like Daniel Craig before he got Bond. These guys are working, and all of a sudden, hey, you're going to play this really big hero role in Peter Jackson's monstrous movie. Yeah, you're gonna get a few more Twitter followers, Viggo.
Yeah, and Kate Blanchett. Oh Jesus, that's my hall pass. And by the way,
Kate Blanchett.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Inspired choice.
It's I don't know what it does to me, but her whole look in Thor Ragnarok too was that's probably why I can't go back. I shouldn't go back and watch it. I shouldn't go back and watch it.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna.
The coolest part about the tattoo, and it's just the way that she did that, and she got to her daughter got to watch her play a badass. That was the best part of her interview. She did that. She's like, I put the helmet on, and my daughter just went crazy. It's like, you're playing a Marvel villain. Yeah, that's my mom over there. She's making dinner. She's a Marvel villain.
Well, that was why Robert Redford did not.
Of course,
yeah.
He was like,
he's so good.
Kid or his grandkid was like, it would be so cool if you were in a Marvel movie.
Yeah. So he's like, calls his agent, get me in a Marvel movie. Yeah, you're gonna electrocute Scarlett Johansson's chest. All right, I'll do it. Fine.
Which wouldn't be a hard sell.
No, it wouldn't. I mean, she's on. There's my whole pass. She's on. Christina Hendricks from Mad Men and her are fighting for that #1 spot. So whoever wins, I think Scarlett can take her.
I wouldn't.
Character-wise?
Well, I mean, I don't know. If she's in her Joan from Mad Men look, maybe she can just knock the crap out of her. But I don't know. That could be a good fight in the Mad Men office. Scarlett Johansson and Christina Hendricks, one-on-one.
So what have both of you screened recently that most people may have not seen that you'd recommend seeing whenever it becomes available, whenever they can get out to it? And by the way, how is it actually? I don't know if Elle, if you've actually made your way back into theaters yet. Dan, I think you have.
I have, yeah. I mean, for me, it's A Quiet Place Part 2 is just still a movie that is. I mean, if you're going to go back to the theater and you want an experience, I mean that movie's it. I mean, Krasinski. Remember when we thought of him as the guy from The Office, and now he's a leading man. He's on Jack Ryan. And
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, great show, and he created a really good movie. And if you go back to that Quiet Place, it was exactly 90 minutes. It's a masterpiece in my eyes of suspense and tension. And in Part 2, he almost, and I have to watch it again, I think he almost outdid himself by expanding the world.
Cillian Murphy in that?
Cillian Murphy. It's almost like Part 2 of Quiet Place was like John Wick Part 2. You got to see more of the world that was created. And again, I mean, if there's one movie that I would tell you, I mean, there's a few that I could tell you should maybe go see, but that's the one that's top of the list.
What about you, Elle?
Well, I have to agree with Dan. It was a great way to kick off for me going back to the movies for screening. Like it was great. Like that was I think one of the first ones. Like we had gone and we had seen it. It was like we're back, and you're like just great to be back at a theater around the people that you're used to seeing. And
normalcy.
Then movie be the first one. You're like this. Oh, thank God! I didn't. We didn't spend 15 months waiting to just end up with crap. It was a great movie. The little girl in that.
Yeah. She's good. I think her name's Madeline Simmons. Yeah, she's got a bigger role.
Millicent. But I took my.
You're right, Millicent Simmons. You're right. Yeah, Millicent Simmons.
To go see it, and she was so jacked up because of I'm not going to give away the movie, but how it builds towards the end.
Yeah.
Intercutting between all the scenes of what's happening. She was so jacked up for those kids. At the end, she's just like, it was like, I was kind of like actually happy for her that it was like, okay, you guys kind of got, you got the kids get their little moment there. And
I mean, the final scene of that movie is so emotional. I mean, it really is. And like Elle said, they draw back, kind of like we were talking about with MCU. Krasinski, he's building something here. And the second movie, I mean, there isn't a minute wasted. And in a lot of movies, it's hard to do. Even in the best movies, you're going to have some time that could have been cut. There's not a single, even 10-second run of this movie where you could just take it out. Everything's important.
Yeah, everything he did, all the tension building scenes were always with in 3 different scenes, 3 different groups of, of what was going on. There was always the mother.
Kept moving.
It's the little boy, and it was then killing him with the girl. It was always, and then everything was always building towards something, and then it would kind of stop, and then it would and then everything was
build back up.
It was great.
Yeah.
I'll have to catch up on the first one and watch this one because I'm behind. I'm behind a little bit here.
First one was great.
You do want to see the first one and then almost immediately go and see the second one because it jumps right into them talking. So
well, how convenient! I can do that now.
And both those movies equal one Lord of the Rings movie. So there you go.
From a time perspective, and that's the thing. That's my worst enemy. It's my biggest enemy these days. It's just time. A house with 3 young kids, you can't. I mean, you just can't even think. But I didn't want to. Elliott, we're not going to go down the Star Wars path tonight. We've been doing that.
What I wanted to ask, because I haven't been to the movie theater yet, but I was able to see Nobody, and I didn't know if you guys had seen that yet. Because I thought that movie was fantastic.
I want to see that. I've seen the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it's so well. Again, a movie that made for a reason is by the writer.
I did not see that kind of coming from
You
him
didn't?
at all. Yeah.
It was almost like this little world they created with Bob
Yes.
Odenkirk. You know him in Better Call Saul. But then he slowly in this movie becomes like this killing machine. And, you have the Raza playing his brother. You have Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
The RZA,
dad,
who has been so notable in movies, even supporting roles.
Oh my God, I killed Christopher Lloyd off in my mind. I thought he was dead. I'm serious. I didn't know he was still around.
He looks pretty good, and he can use a pump shotgun pretty well too. So
yes,
again, I think that movie's really lean and mean too. I think it's 92 minutes.
Yes, and then the way that it ended was. It was awesome.
It's so great.
Oh, so great. Yeah.
They look back at that cash and they go, and they go trailer, and then second one coming out probably. So I think they've already greenlit it.
I hope so.
More, please. And the cool thing is the connection in that world is that the guy who trained Bob Odenkirk was the guy who fought John Wick in the first one. Oh, it's coming. You're getting more Bob, and Bob's going to have more shirtless scenes too. Bob Odenkirk got into shape for that movie.
He did.
That's what it's going to take for me. I'm going to have to be in a movie before I finally get my ass in gear.
That's your job. I mean,
well, not really. He got like not Saul-like. I mean, you have a guy who Saul was hiding in a bathroom during a gunfight, and then he walks into
in shape for that movie. So I mean, like,
and then he walks into a bus and picks a fight with like 6 Ukrainian gangsters. You broke my nose. I mean, come on, it's dangerous.
I've seen the trailer on this one, so I definitely want to check this one out. But again, I'm gonna probably have to encourage my wife to take the kids away for another weekend just so I can catch up on all this stuff that I
just bring them in the other room. Say, hey, we're gonna watch Nobody. What are you doing? Nothing. Okay, get out of here.
Yeah, but see, they don't. My kids don't really work that way. If one of them's it's like a magnet, they're just gonna follow you, whatever. Yeah, just whatever. And it's.
I gave up trying to not watch certain things in front of my kids until I think I was in season 5 of Game of Thrones, and I was like, I can't. I'm not staying up till 11 o'clock at night to watch this shit. And the one I will never forget is I remember my oldest coming into the room, and I can't remember what year season 5 was. I remember her standing in the room, and it was the scene where they were burning Shireen, the little girl.
That'll scare a kid away. Yeah.
She's like, the fuck are you watching? You're fine now. At this point,
well, at least, and I think by the last couple of seasons, there was a lot less adult nudity in those too, so it was probably a little bit safer at that point. That's the one thing that prevents me from, because my oldest here, at least under the roof, is 10. I don't even want to get that engine started. I don't even want him to know about that stuff because
isn't it wild that we're watch everybody get shot. Let's have everything blown to smithereens.
Right.
But my God, don't look at a nipple.
That's right. That's where it all starts. That's where it all starts.
Wait a minute. This guy's going to shoot everybody in here. Watch, this is great. He's going to mow down everybody. Oh my God, turn your head. There's a nipple.
Watch this dinosaur bite this guy's head off.
Right.
Watch.
He basically ate that guy and the toilet.
Or on the toilet.
Right.
Watch. The T-Rex just eats him right off the toilet. Don't turn your head. There's a nipple.
Yeah, I know. But I don't want to get the thought process started. Oh, those change. Oh, I like those. I don't even want to I don't want it to start. I don't want to have the conversation. I don't want to have it.
Don't do this yet.
I don't.
You better get in there before somebody else does.
I don't want the tingling or anything to start yet. Stay young for a little while.
I hate to break it to you, but it is the stuff I heard that was talked about on elementary school buses. I knew Game of Thrones wasn't going to even touch it. So I was like,
You're probably right. You're probably right. In fact, I know, Elle, we have a Predator debate every once in a while. Who's watched it more? I yield. Okay, yeah, I yield. I bought the, and sometimes I like to enjoy my time on the weekend, and I have a few beers or anything. I've many times thought I was just renting something, ended up buying it on iTunes. Their old system used to be so easy to screw that up. I always confuse a B and an R, buy versus rent. But I bought the whole collection or whatever, the 4 Predator movies, and I've had to block or figure out how to block the second movie because there's a nudity scene in there. So you're right, to your point. Go ahead and watch him rip the spine and skull out of a body, but I don't want you to see that naked girl on top of that guy because I don't want you wondering why are they doing that because I don't want to have that conversation yet.
Sucky.
Blown through this chest. But a nipple shows up on the TV. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, really? These are more powerful than that?
Yes.
I mean,
yes, they are. To an adolescent boy, they are, Elle. I'm telling you right now. That's the way it works.
I'm gonna keep this poker face because my opinions cannot be hidden about this.
It's like it has always felt like it just it's always.
Elle, boobs have caused wars.
They have.
Yes, but then people end up getting killed in these wars. I think that it's I am always amused by our comfort with violence and our nervousness and our antsiness with nudity and sex. And you're just like, oh, in one instance people are dying, in the other they're getting along really well.
Yeah, but you go to a teenage boy mind. If I take myself back to 13, 14, and I don't, thank God we didn't have smartphones and shit back then, but something that got my adrenaline going was definitely not a war movie. What would have got my adrenaline going in the wrong direction would have been seeing like Nicole Kidman's butt on TV. That would have been like.
So your adrenaline was wrong, right? I mean, like, what were you gonna go out and do? I mean, like, what? Okay. I mean, I hate to say it, but beat your meat. If there was
he had to turn his camera off.
More masturbation, less violence.
Yeah, that's
true. That's true. The world would be a better place for sure. I totally agree.
Are you kidding me? I mean, like, less punches thrown.
More whack and go.
More punching the clown.
Yeah.
Tired, who can fight? I'm feeling too good right now. Like.
Oh well, this whole conversation took a wonderful turn. I couldn't have.
Cardinals, and then we've gone to my kids seeing a nipple. Man, this podcast. I'll tell you what, you never know what's going to happen.
That's right. That's right. I'm so glad Pete wasn't here.
They're shooting all over the place. Oh my god!
Oh my gosh! They're sweating. How terrible!
Well-placed fat. Turn your head.
Well-placed fat.
Is that really her?
That might be the title of this episode. Well-placed fat. Thank you, Elle.
Well-placed fat. Is that her nipple?
Well, it's like how do you get a man attracted to 5 pounds of fat? Put a nipple on it. I mean, like, come on, it's an old joke.
I've never heard that, but I like it.
I never had either.
Now I have.
We all have now, and we're all smarter for this. I can't wait to release this. This is going to be fantastic.
You never know. It's like Joaquin Andujar said, not you, but Joaquin. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen, man. You hit play and you start talking about the Cardinals. That's a good way to go. That's like the gateway drug to a crazy conversation is Cardinal talk.
Especially when they're not. Especially when they're hovering at 500. Yep, I agree. Guys, thank you so much for jumping on. It's been such a fun conversation having both of you on, especially at the same time. Dan's got to turn his camera off again. Okay, we'll let you get after that in a minute. But I'm not going to tell everybody where they can find you. If they're listening to us, they're already following you. They know where you're at. Follow Dan Buffa on Twitter. One of the best follows out there, as well as our good friend at Holy_Elle on Twitter. You both are fantastic, and glad you joined us tonight. Always fun. Would love to do it again. Always better when Pete's not here, the other Cubs fan. It's a little bit better balance, even though Elle is wearing an Orioles.
Hey, it was nice to be outnumbered tonight.
It wasn't it? I mean, you did pretty well.
I figured I'd bring, my winning team, the Orioles.
Yeah, but you have the other side too. It's like half and half. So.
You're only as happy as your most miserable child. So
that's true.
It's true. And we're both Bears fans, so you can see Elliott now.
You never know what team she's gonna be playing for. The Orioles, the Cardinals, the Steelers. Never know. She shape shifts. It makes it interesting.
It does.
It's true.
She's a moving target. She's got to keep it a challenge for us. So, guys, thank you again so much for joining us tonight. And Elliott, I want to have you walk us out of here because I'm not going to remember the script. Pete's got it memorized. I'm not even going to try because I'm going to blow it all to hell. So, go ahead and walk us out, if you don't mind.
I can try. So if you're not following everybody, you know where to follow us. So, but you can find us
that's really
anywhere
good.
You can find podcasts.
There you go.
So you can find us on YouTube. We're not going on Facebook. Fuck that place. So,
I hate it.
Don't go to our store because, don't.
Okay, just
Spotify,
stop. Just stop.
Twitter.
Just stop.
Just
stop. It wasn't even.
Remember any of this
Go
stuff.
out there and scream for a podcast, and this may drop into your ears. Okay, all right. Don't go asking for the world, but expect a star. Okay?
That's right.
All I'm gonna say.
Elliott, I don't blame you. I didn't have that stuff memorized either. I don't know why we leave Pete, the only one that knows all this shit.
To me, so I could sound like.
Well, you know what? And I think the fact that he takes this week off is just to send us a message about how we can't replace him because he all has shit remembered.
That's true.
Okay, super.
Well, and I know he brings it up, and he's got the script written out, so he just reads it. So, but you know what? Give us a rate. Rate us 5 stars, and then unrate us, and then rate us.
That's
again.
right.
That
5
whole
stars.
Thing, so
5 stars with a nipple on the end of it. All right, everyone.
Right.
We love you all so much. Bye, everyone.